Today, I just wanted to talk about being frustrated with your work. You know, oftentimes when you're, I don't know, doing anything with art, right? Oftentimes this doesn't work out. And I think that's the most common thing ever with art, especially. And what we do is basically that we get frustrated with the work and think that we're not really going anywhere. And it really does feel like we aren't, oftentimes, you know. Today, this is just like a documentary that I wanted to start on this channel, basically. Thank you so much for listening, by the way. Today, I just was trying to draw something and it just doesn't click. I know one thing that I am noticing with my work is that whenever I have a camera in front of me recording me draw, right? Whenever I have a camera like that, it's just really difficult to like work properly, you know? It's like somebody is watching me continuously, although, well, nobody really is, you know? It's just me and a camera. There's no one watching me besides some device that I just set up, right? It's like so daunting. Just the fact that somebody is recording me while I work. Sometimes it just makes it impossible to work. You know, I did Drawbox, for example, a while back and finished Drawbox and went through with it all, you know. And what I did with that was I recorded myself draw and did a time lapse of it all, right? So every 30 days, so the entire 30 days, I made something and I recorded myself making that. But you know, I had this thing in my mind that just said, hey, what you're doing isn't really important, you know? In the sense, like, to me, Inktober is just doodling and having fun drawing, right? Without any expectation of results. And unfortunately, the moment I'm drawing something and I want it to look good, right? The moment there is an expectation of results, I just tense up. I think that's a pretty common feeling among artists and individuals who create in general. Like, for example, I don't really remember his name, I'll tag him below. There's this guy who draws with a Pilot parallel pen that I found recently, who made videos similar to this and was just talking and speaking his mind, basically. And I figured that something like that would be really interesting to do. So, you know, I just got frustrated and decided, hey, fuck it, I'll just open a camera and we are just gonna talk without any expectation whatsoever. So, obviously, this isn't scripted, right? I think being frustrated with your work is something an artist experiences the entire life, you know? At least any artist who's generally serious at it, right? And I also think that's perfectly natural and okay. But something that I do think many artists should do is learn to just draw for fun, you know, without any expectation. Because it really makes it easier to communicate. Because right now I'm just doodling. I'm not expecting anything from this whatsoever. I'm just making marks on a page with a brush that I'm, to be honest, kind of inexperienced with. And I'm just making something regardless of how it turns out. And I'm okay with the results being terrible, similar to how it was in Inktober. And it helps me a lot when it comes to creating. But the moment something matters, that's when you usually freeze up. I think something that has helped me overcome this is just take a break for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just continue doing something that, or well, a better way to put this would be just draw something regardless of the results. That's the best advice I can give to anyone, really. There's something that Drawbox taught me with their 50% rule, and it's probably one of the most valuable things I learned from there. Like in my journey, I've never really drawn just for the sake of drawing. I have drawn, sure, but I always had a goal that, yeah, dude, I'm gonna make this, or I'm gonna make this, that, or I'm gonna create something now that I am sitting here to draw, right? But I've never really put a thought into what happens if I just draw for the sake of drawing. That's something Inktober helped me a lot with, and that's something Drawbox has helped me a lot. That's something that I learned from Drawbox, to draw purely for the sake of drawing. And it's really magical in a way, right? Hmm. What should we add here? Okay, fuck. I don't know. Okay, let's make something cool, like a workstation or something. Okay, let's try that. Sometimes you just sit down to work and draw something, anything really. And no matter what you do, it just doesn't work out. And that's normal in the field of arts. You're not gonna sit down and create something fabulous every time you sit down to draw, right? That's not how it works. That's not how creativity works. But despite knowing that this is not how it works, sit down and draw regardless, expecting it will. And sometimes it does. But some days just aren't it, right? For example, I have a friend who does graffiti, and he's insane at it. I'll tag him below too, by the way. And he's been trying to make a design for a few days now. I'm not gonna go too much into what the design is, since I don't really want to leak it to people just yet. I want him to be the one who reveals this fabulous work, right? But like, some days he makes a lot of progress, and the next, sometimes it's like he's back to square one. And talking with him, trying to figure it out with him, has taught me that, like, some days just aren't it. Some days, for example, like today, I'm basically, for those who don't know, I'm on lesson 7 in Drawbox. And obviously the homework we get in Drawbox lesson 7 is very, very different than the homework in the starting lessons, right? The difficulty just goes up tenfold. So there's a time you have to give. So it's like when it doesn't work out, it's just such a frustrating experience. Because you can do it, right? You know that very well that you can do it, but it just doesn't work out. And there's nothing that you can do about it not working out, can you? Some days are just, you know, resting days. Some days you create regardless of having motivation and don't make it. Some days you do create regardless of having motivation, and you do make it, but you can't really, at least not. One thing I have seen is that the ones who truly succeed are those who can genuinely draw without a care in the world, regardless of them being motivated or not. An ability to just draw regardless is very important, in my opinion. I'm just gonna draw a dude. He's a small. Wait, I'm giving him a little buddy. Now they're working on a tank that's fine. That's 5 times their height. It's so interesting to me sometimes when I'm just doodling and doing work for 50%, that sometimes I make something that's meaningful, Sometimes I don't create anything at all. But the act of creating, regardless of any expectation, is a lot more enjoyable than always having something, than always expecting something from yourself when you create. Another thing you can do when you do feel frustrated with your work is, honestly, with like winter approaching and everything, it's like November here right now, by the way, for those who are watching this in the future. Sometimes it's just best to take a step back and honestly just drink some water. Most of the time, like, heck, I haven't had a glass of water since I woke up. And I'm not kidding right now. It's insane. I'm just gonna do that right now. And in a sec, once I'm done with this small talk at the studio. Okay, the video cut out for a second. Yeah. When I reached lesson 6, for example, in Drawbox, one of the most toughest things that I had to deal with were orthographs. And it was the most difficult thing ever to do. Because it just went against everything I had ever learned in art, right? To me, art was mostly drawing what I see, never really planning before I drew, right? So it took me a few weeks just getting used to the whole concept of orthographs as a whole. And now that I'm in lesson 7, right, I don't think too much about orthographs in the sense obviously I think while I make orthographs. I mean, in the sense they're not such a overwhelming thing anymore now that I've done them, I don't know, 20, 30 times or so at this point. After so many repetitions, so many redos again and again and again, it's just natural. It's just so comfortable and easy to do, right? But before, it was very difficult. Similarly, with my art, before I did Drawbox, there were a lot of things that I just sucked at. And now it's like there are many things that I can do which I couldn't even fathom doing before, right? I think being frustrated with your art, just your body telling you that if you generally work through it, if you generally go through it, there's something after, or something through all this frustration, that will make you better at your work. And heck, after talking for so long, I'm not even that frustrated anymore. I think talking to yourself is definitely important too, I'd say. Isn't that what an artist does their whole entire life? Isn't that what an artist does their entire life? We just talk and explore ourselves entire life, which is why oftentimes we know ourselves way better than most people on this planet. Because the common man never really thinks about who they actually are. But an artist does, don't they? Think, they ponder, they question their own reality themselves again and again and again, thinking what is it that generally drives them to create. And I personally haven't found the answer yet myself. Personally, for me, I create because I don't value anything else in life as much as I value the mere act of creating. You know, just the most natural thing ever to me to just draw. And after Drawbox, I learned that I can also do that while disregarding the results, and it helped me a lot. Just art in general, and helped me a lot. Just removing the expectation of creating a masterpiece every time you draw is very helpful and makes you a lot gives you a lot of comfort when it comes to the act of creating. And here go, the drawing is done. Okay, I guess I'll just be closing it off here. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope that exploring yourselves, your own mind, and your own body, and resting, most importantly, helps you overcome the frustration and fear, honestly, of drawing at times. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for joining in.